High Stuff News on Human Rights Council urges Sri Lanka war crimes. The nation's hassled for a special court to try war crimes committed during the Sri Lankan army's long conflict with Tamil Tiger rebels. In a long-awaited report, the Human Rights Office accused both sides of atrocities, especially during the final stages of the war in 2009. In response, Sri Lanka promised a local inquiry but will not allow the proposed court, which would have foreign judges. One estimate is that 40,000 Tamils died in the final army offensive. In the government's reaction to the report, there appears to be one major shift. Cabinet spokesman Rajitha Senatratne told the BBC that ex-President Rajapaksa and his family would not necessarily be protected if there were allegations of serious crimes against them, where even the President or other commanders or defense secretaries, whoever is involved, our government is ready to take action. But otherwise Colombo is sticking to its line that a Sri Lankan process, with nothing more international than advice, will suffice. He said the series of domestic commissions, including a South Africa-style Truth Commission, will be set up to clear the name of the country. That is not compatible with the hard-hitting report. Its main thrust is that a hybrid, part international, part Sri Lankan, tribunal is needed, because years of denials and cover ups mean the Sri Lankan system is not yet ready to handle these types of crime. Earlier this week, Sri Lanka's new government unveiled plans to set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to examine war crimes allegations, including those against the military. The previous government of President Mahinda Rajapaksa had resisted international pressure to investigate the issue. Unveiling the report in Geneva, Commissioner for Human Rights Ziad Rayed Al Hussein said only a special court with international magistrates and investigators would be up to the huge task of examining the alleged crimes over a 9-year period up to 2011. Our investigation has laid bare the horrific level of violations and abuses that occurred in Sri Lanka, including indiscriminate shelling, extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, harrowing accounts of torture and sexual violence, recruitment of children and other grave crimes, he said. He also called on the Sri Lankan government to remove from office anyone if there were credible grounds to believe they had committed human rights abuses. Other main points include numerous unlawful killings between 2002 and 2011, allegedly by both sides, enforced disappearances affecting tens of thousands over decades, the brutal use of torture by security forces, in particular during the immediate aftermath of the conflict, extensive sexual violence against detainees by the security forces, with men as likely to be victims as women, forced recruitment of adults and children by the rebels, particularly towards the end of the conflict. The report said forced recruitment by the rebels would, if proven in court, be a war crime. The denial of humanitarian assistance, which it said the government might be guilty of, could also constitute a war crime. Senior Sri Lankan Minister Rajitha Senatratne told the BBC, "Our stand on war crimes is we need an internationally accepted local inquiry. We are not ready to agree with the international inquiries." Despite its promises to pursue accountability, the government elected last month would be reluctant to hold war crimes trials, correspondents say. As well as the thousands of Tamils who died in the final battles near Mullaitivu, many others are still missing. The Human Rights Office postponed the planned publication of its report in March, after Mr. Rajapaksa lost the presidential election to party rival Maithripala Sirisena in January. Mr. Sirisena, who served as a government minister during the final stages of the war, had promised to cooperate with the UN. The Rajapaksa government held its own commission into what happened in the last years of the war, but critics said it lacked credibility. The 26-year war left at least 100,000 people dead. There are still no confirmed figures for tens of thousands of civilian deaths in the last months of battle.